Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 133 of the All Dolphins podcast. Omar and I today are joined by, as you can see, our good friend Antoine Staley, who covers, sorry, Antoine, the New York Jets for the New York Daily News.
The disappointing Jets.
Well, we'll trust me, we'll get to that in plenty.
Disastrous Jets.
Hey, I'm an expert at covering bad football, as y'all know. So that's all I know.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Antoine covered the Miami Dolphins for how many years, Antoine?
Seven.
Damn.
2012 to 19.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you got the playoff season of 2016. So
yes, I was there for that. Yes, that's the best
one
season
out
I've
of
ever had.
7 ain't bad.
Yeah. This season it's been fun. It's been a fun ride. I gotta admit, they look like they're less dysfunctional than in the past, and maybe have shedded the dysfunction. But you're quite aware of dysfunction, and you might have a little bit of it going on over there with the New York Jets.
And we're gonna get to, Omar. We're gonna get to that in a second. Let's take care of our business, because some of you folks out there like this jersey number 33. I'm gonna go with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who went by the name of Sharman Shaw when he was a running back at UCLA. Dolphins drafted him in the 3rd round in 1996, rushed for over 1,000 yards as a rookie, ending an 18-year drought where the Dolphins did not have a single 1,000-yard rusher. Delvin Williams had been the last to do it in 1978. So with that out of the way, Antoine, welcome, and we feel your pain watching a team with a really good defense, and boy, is that a tough offense to watch.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just reliving like old seasons of Dolphins like football all over again. Like, yeah, it's offensive line is terrible, defense is bad. It's just it's not good football at all to watch it right now.
Antoine, is the defense bad? Because from what I see, every time they look good.
The defense is good. The defense is good up until yesterday, but I feel like the dam kind of broke yesterday, because eventually, I mean, that's not a sustainable model. Like when you're trying to rely on your defense, and you're literally trying to hold opponents to nothing. I mean, their Jets offense is, they're only scoring 15 points per game. I mean, you can't win that way in this league, not nowadays where you got these offense. I mean, the Dolphins scored more touchdowns in a game than the Jets have all season long.
Oof.
They scored 10 against the Broncos. The Jets have 9 touchdowns in 10 games.
I'm actually surprised you said they're averaging 15 points. I was like, that much? Really? I thought it was less than that, man.
Yeah, it's been bad. It's been a lot of bad football there. And Zach Wilson, ended up getting replaced by Tim Boyle. He'll start against the Dolphins, but I don't know if that's necessarily the solution either.
So Tim Boyle will start against the Dolphins?
Yes, he's just going to be the starter, yes.
Okay.
Tim Boyle to the rescue.
And they feel good about this.
I mean, you really don't have much of it's either him or Trevor Siemian, so you really don't have much of a choice. I mean, Trevor Siemian hasn't won a game since 2017, so...
Here's the thing, Antoine, was it a case of the Jets simply not wanting to close the door on Zach Wilson, or did they really fool themselves into thinking, well, he's been around Aaron Rodgers since the offseason, maybe something rubbed off, and actually the light will have clicked, and he's going to be perfectly fine as our number 2, which has proven to be not the case?
Well, I think a lot of it, Aaron wanted him to be the backup quarterback. He wanted to come in and help groom Zach Wilson and help him eventually become the heir apparent to Aaron when he stopped playing. The problem is, I mean, Zach's still running into the same issues that he did for years, like still inconsistent, still throwing dumb passes with interceptions, and just being inaccurate. I mean, he's 32nd right now in completion percentage. One of the lowest rated quarterbacks in the league. I think he's 30th in QBR right now. Same thing last year. I think the Jets had a really good defense a year ago. Offense wasn't very good. They had Breece Hall ended up getting hurt in the middle of the season, but they couldn't do anything offensively. And eventually the defense just kind of wore down. So it's kind of the same thing. But I think Aaron is really driving the engine of the Jets too. I mean, he's made he recommended a lot of moves for them, like picking up Alan Lazard, picking up Billy Turner, who we all know. Like I was there, along with y'all when the Dolphins drafted Billy Turner back in, I think it's 14 or whatever. But 13, 14, whatever it was. But Randall Cobb. But none of these moves have necessarily worked. He even wanted Dalvin Cook to be signed as well. But again, none of these moves have worked. And then now they've literally bent over backwards for Aaron Rodgers, and now they're in a certain situation where, they made their bed and now they have to really sleep in it.
Now, let me ask you about this because there's so much discussion and hubbub about Aaron Rodgers potentially coming back. Is that even an option? Is that something that Jets organization is taking seriously, Aaron playing in December games?
It's possible, yeah. I mean, they think he might want to open up his practice window at least, like maybe sometime in December. But I don't know if he's going to play any games for simply because I don't think the Jets are going to be in it. I mean, if they lose this game against the Dolphins, they're 4-7. I mean, essentially at that point, you're gonna have to win out just to make the playoffs. I think 9 wins at least is you're gonna have to get 9 wins to make the playoffs, and I don't see any necessarily path for that if they were to lose this game. And they have another game against the Dolphins. They have the game against the Texans before that, and they play the Cleveland Browns at the end of December as well, whose defense is better than the Jets right now statistically. And then, you can say whatever you want to about the Patriots, but the Jets hadn't beat them since 2015. So, I mean, that's always a big thing too.
So
no, I want to jump in. Omar, go ahead, Omar.
It's not worth it for Rodgers to come back and put it.
No, if they're 4-7, then what's the point? I mean, you're not going to make the playoffs. I mean, all you're doing is playing in meaningless games in December. So I don't know what's the risk, especially when you want him to come back next year and try to do it all over again. And then, not for nothing, he may play one more year. I think he's even said that, but you don't want to go out there and he tears his Achilles or have some kind of freak injury again. That's going to set him back, and it might end his career, especially if he'll be 40 in a few weeks.
Yeah. I want to turn to your favorite subject, Omar, the offensive line, with the premise that, Omar, this is the 1 week where I don't think you should be allowed to say anything about injuries on the offensive line and the Dolphins having to shuffle guys in and out, because the Jets, oh my God. Like the offensive line coming into the season, I looked at it. It's not a complete disaster show because Dwayne Brown is serviceable. He's old and gets injured a lot, but he's serviceable. Vera Tucker's a good player. Tomlinson came over from the 49ers with a good reputation. And then it's a complete and utter, excuse my language, shit show because of injuries and all that.
Yeah, they've had 11 different players on the offensive line through 10 games. That's about what they had through 17 a year ago. And then now Mekhi Becton's hurt. He has we think a low ankle sprain, which if that's the case, he's probably not going to play on Friday. So they also have the good news for them. Then they have to activate Dwayne Brown because if they don't, then they lose him for the season with his 21-day window. So I guess in a way it kind of works out. But then again, Dwayne Brown hadn't played football since that it was the Cowboys game week 2. So this is going to be, they're trying to wrap it up for him, but he hasn't played football in a couple of months now. So you don't know how he's going to perform out there. The last time we saw him, I mean, Michael Parsons was, my God, I mean, he was like destroying them. I mean, which is not necessarily, the worst thing in the world, but Michael Parsons is all world. I think we all know that. But I mean, he was giving Dwayne Brown just all types of fits. So now you're facing a Dolphins pass rush that's, really playing really well right now. I think, Bradley Chubb is playing really exceptionally well, especially his, second year with the Dolphins there. Obviously, they have Phillips and some other guys too as well. But it's going to be a challenge for him, especially considering he hadn't played in so long.
Let me ask you a little bit about Breece Hall. Obviously, there was concern about him coming back from the knee injury, but he's had pretty much a phenomenal season. Can he carry this offense without a proven quarterback, or if the Dolphins just lock in on him and they can clamp it down and shut down Jets' entire offense?
I think now, I think teams are just loading 8-9 in the box. So I think, you look at his statistics the last few weeks, they hadn't been very good, just simply because they can't throw the ball down the field. So now teams are just literally, that's what Buffalo did yesterday. They literally loaded up the back box and just stopped Breece Hall on first and second down because the Jets are so predictable on first early downs. I think Antonio Pierce mentioned this before the Raiders-Jets game. He's like, when they're going to run. They don't hide it at all. And they don't. I mean, they showed exactly what they're going to do every single play. And they've tried to switch it up, but when they're going to run, the formations and everything like that. So teams, they know when to key in and know when to blitz there. And then in third downs, which the Jets statistically right now are on pace to have the worst third down conversion rate in the history of the NFL at 22%.
0 for 11 yesterday.
Yes, 0 for 11 yesterday.
History?
History of the NFL. Look at statistics. Nobody right now has had that low of a third down conversion rate in the history of the league right now.
When did you realize, same Zach Wilson, this ain't working out?
Well, I didn't think it would work out when Aaron got hurt. I mean, I didn't think it was a good model. I mean, you literally, and I said this to, I asked Robert Saleh this point blank, why are you putting your faith in a guy where you benched twice last year and now you're bringing him back and you expect him to be a starter? I know he's matured, and he's matured a lot since, off the field since last year when he, pretty much didn't have any accountability, after the Patriots lost. But, he has gotten mature in that area, but he's not, he's just not a starter quarterback. I think we all know that just watching him. I mean, he had flashes against Kansas City. I thought he did a good job there, but, ultimately after that, nothing. Tommy DeVito, you can say whatever you want to about the Giants, but the man threw 3 touchdowns yesterday against Washington. Zach Wilson has never done that in his career. And I don't think in 30-something games.
He did put up 40 yards against the 40 points against the Dolphins.
Well, the defense also helped with that too. I don't want to necessarily take away from that as well, but yeah, he helped them put up 40 points in that game, that first game against the against the Dolphins last year. So yeah, I think the running game also had a lot to do with it too. With Breece Hall, he went wild in that game as well.
He also caught a little short swing pass and went
correct.
6 yards with it or something.
Oh, correct. But to answer your question, yeah, I think he's going to have to carry the offense. If they have any shot to doing anything, he's going to have to carry their offense, because otherwise I think they're in huge trouble. Now they're asking him to be a factor in the passing game because they don't really have a second wide receiver. Teams are starting keying in on Garrett Wilson as well. And then now you got with the Dolphins, they have 2 really good corners, and Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey. So it's really going to be even that much more a challenge for a guy like Garrett Wilson to try to get open.
So what have you seen from Tim Boyle, either in training camp or practices or
be nice now, Antoine. Be nice. I see.
That makes you confident that he can lead an NFL team to a victory.
You really want my honest answer, or you want?
No, I want your honest answer.
You want me? Well, Alice said be nice, so I'm trying to decide which one do you want. You want me to?
You know who you're talking to. Shoot it straight.
I hadn't seen much of anything. I'll be completely honest with you, because I just hadn't seen anything. At training camp, he was okay. He was just a guy. I think Steve Smith calls guys like that just Jags. He's just a guy. He wasn't necessarily doing anything impressive. I think Zach was kind of up and down at times. I think the only thing I said about Zach in training camp was he wasn't turning the ball over as much. So I definitely think that was a bit of an improvement for his first couple of years there. But yeah, Tim Boyle really didn't show much of anything, because we thought he might have an opportunity to win this backup job. But, Zach outplayed him in the training camp. So you can take that for what it was worth.
So you're not gonna do like Tom Curran and say that Tim Boyle is better than Tua?
I'm not an idiot.
Okay. Just checking. I have to throw it out there.
Is Tim Boyle better than Zach Wilson?
No. Not from what I've seen, no.
Man.
So I'll say this. The reason he's starting over Trevor Siemian, who they picked up on the practice squad, is because he has a grasp of the offense. He knows Nathaniel Hackett's offense better. So that's the reason he's going to be the starter. Obviously Siemian has more experience, but that's the only, notch on the belt that Tim Boyle has.
You're thinking there is no turning back on this Zach Wilson situation.
No, it's over. It's over.
It's done. We thought it was done last
year. You can't. I don't think it's anywhere coming back from this. I really don't. And I'm curious to see, we'll talk to Robert Saleh shortly, about 4:00 or so, that will Zach Wilson be inactive? Because last year, when they benched him, they made him inactive. Mike White started some games. Joe Flacco was the backup as well. They even had Chris Strebler get in there for a few snaps. So, yeah, I don't know if you can turn the clock back. I think it's over. I think you just have to release him at the end of the year. They're going to decline his 5th-year option anyway. Just move on from him. Maybe he can go somewhere and be a backup somewhere else.
You mentioned Mike White, so we got to ask you your thoughts on Mike White, and if, knock on wood, something were to happen to Tua, how well do you think he'd be able to lead this offense?
I think he'd be good for 1 or 2 games. I think he's shown that he has the ability to win some games there. I don't know if he's a guy that you want being in there for 4 or 5 game stretch, but Mike White has a lot of experience, and yeah, he was the best quarterback, I think, of the Jets last year. It's just the fact of the matter. Matt Milano broke his ribs against Buffalo, and then he was never the same again. And then for whatever reason, they brought him back out in the same game where he broke his ribs, and then eventually went to the hospital, and he tried to play through it, and he just couldn't. So, but yeah, I like Mike White. I think he's a really good backup there. I knew that's where he wanted to go. I mean, that's home for him. I mean, Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, grew up there, born and raised, was a Dolphin fan. So I knew when the Dolphins were interested, especially considering the Jets situation where they were going after Aaron Rodgers, it just made too much sense for him just to go ahead and come back home and, be a backup to Tua. And, you could also try to mentor Skylar Thompson there as well.
Let me ask you this question regarding Mike White, because I wonder if the Jets had Mike White as their starting quarterback, how respectable could they be?
Depends on how long. Like for the whole season?
Yeah, after Aaron Rodgers went down.
You mean the Jets? Like if the Jets had them, I think they would be. I think they would probably have about 6 wins right now. I still think the Dolphins, like they were my pick to win the East anyway. But I felt like Buffalo was, kind of a little bit on the downward slide there as well. They were getting a little old in the back end of their defense with the safeties and Poyer and Hyde as well. And, it was just so much questions with the Jets too as well. And, I liked Aaron Rodgers. I thought the Jets would be a playoff team, but I thought just looking at it, just how it is, I thought the Dolphins just coming in, especially, picking up Vic Fangio. I thought that was huge for their defense just to be able to improve. And I think we're kind of seeing that recently. They don't have to win these games where they're outscoring opponents by, 30 and 40 points. I think we saw that yesterday against the Raiders where, they were able to, force a lot of turnovers. I know it was a young quarterback and Aiden O'Connor, but, the Raiders, made them sweat a little bit. And then the defense stepped up when they needed to. So, yeah, I thought that was the big difference, just picking up Fangio. And I thought their defense would improve. Not necessarily right away, but like towards the end of the season.
Raiders made him sweat a lot, actually.
Yeah, that was a tight game.
Other side of the Jets, is Sauce Gardner playing anywhere near the level he played last year?
I don't think so. I think, he got beat by a really bad ball by Josh Allen, which was a great pass yesterday. But, I don't think he's playing at the level that he would like to. But, it comes, I think he's still playing. I think he's still one of the best corners in football. But, I think we were just quick to anoint him as the best. Not me personally, but I think Surtain is the best one in the league right now. But you argue Ramsey and some other guys too as well. But, 1 year doesn't necessarily make you the best in the league. I think you have to do it under a consistent period of time, like 2 or 3 years. And I think he even said that too. Like he might be one of the best, but I don't think he's, the Jets, him and DJ Reed are playing really well. But the thing about it, they don't have any interceptions right now. So I think that's part of it as well, getting those balls and picking them off too as well. You can, shadow a guy and do whatever you want to as well. And, Gardner is one of those guys that's very touchy, which is I like a lot of attracted a lot of criticism on social media. Yeah. But he is definitely still one of the top 10 best cornerbacks in the league. I think along with DJ Reed too as well.
When they don't give you that license to be touchy, the game changes a little bit on you.
Exactly. Like I think they're calling more plays on them. They called a holding call on them yesterday. So yeah, last year I think they were kind of letting them get away with a few things, but I think a lot of teams kind of complained about it in the offseason.
Yeah. It's a thin line between a great defensive play and a penalty.
Exactly. But he's still great.
Sorry, Quinnen Williams still balling?
His pressure rate, if you look at it statistically, he's not, but his pressure rate is higher than what it was last year when he registered 12 sacks. So I don't know if that, makes a lot of sense, but, I think sacks are a little bit overrated, but at the same time, it was going to be hard to kind of duplicate, the 12 sack season, especially for a defensive tackle. Like you're an interior guy, like that's not necessarily a norm. And I think teams are really literally double teaming him all the time. And I think that's also opened up opportunities for Jermaine Johnson, who I really liked coming out of Florida State. He's had a really good year. Like he's on the pace to getting 10 sacks this year. Also Bryce Huff too, who they use in situational downs as well. Not necessarily a starter, but you'll see him on second and third down. And I think he leads the team in sacks. If not, he's up there along with Quentin Jefferson, who they picked up from Seattle.
want to ask you a little bit about Cook, who a guy we had our eyes
Yeah.
on down here. Obviously, things didn't really pan out for him there with the Jets, just because Breece Hall is dynamic. He's young and he's relatively cheap. Do you think that there's a high level of regret about the signing of Dalvin Cook?
For $7 million, yeah. I mean, I don't think they thought Breece Hall would come back as fast as he did off the ACL injury. I think now, like, just seeing him in training camp, like he was running past people and they were like, oh, well, like he's coming back faster than what we thought. Because, you look at the history of guys coming off ACL injuries with the running back position and having good years. It's not good recently. I mean, I think you have to go back to maybe like Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson to find a guy that really had a successful season coming off an ACL injury. Even Saquon, when he came off the ACL injury, I think he had like 500 yards or so. But, Breece, he's definitely a top 10 in rushing and yards per carry. And despite the fact that he's struggled, like not necessarily he struggled, but teams are really loading up to stop him. But yeah, I think, Dalvin, we talked to him like near the trading deadline. He wasn't opposed to getting traded, but I think the Jets felt like they were going to need him at some point throughout the year. And I think the biggest problem with him is the play calling. I don't think Nathaniel Hackett is using him correctly. I think both of you guys know, he's a rhythm runner. Like he needs the carries. Like he's not a guy that's just going to get 3 or 4 carries and, be explosive. Like he needs to get volume carries in order for him to get going. And that's something that they're not doing. I feel like they should be able to do that on early downs too. And they could switch him and Breece Hall out. I did like one thing that I saw yesterday. They had him and Breece Hall in the backfield for the first time together, which I'm surprised it took them 9 games to do that. That makes no sense to me, but I thought definitely something they should do a lot more.
Now, we talk about Robert Saleh, and I'm never a fire a coach kind of guy, especially when the coach is playing without his starting quarterback.
You're going to go there, Omar?
Yeah, I'm
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it's not. I think it's time to have the conversation.
I know how the Jets fan base is, and one, the indictment of staying with Zach Wilson when you knew that there were other decent quarterbacks you could have gone out there and got. You made a conscious decision to make your team bad. And my question is, could he be in danger? Or is Aaron Rodgers' injury going to buy him another season?
It depends on how it depends on how the rest of the season goes. If they lose out, then all bets are off. Like I was told even before the season starts, like just because they have Aaron Rodgers does not buy them time. So if they go, 4-13, then yeah, I think it's a possibility. But also with that, if you're going to replace him, I think you have to replace Joe Douglas, which it was his decision to draft like Zach Wilson in the first place. Robert Saleh, not really a Zach Wilson guy, but it was a Joe Douglas move that Joe Douglas fell in love with Zach Wilson throughout the pre-draft process and really, wanted him to come in and, thought he could be a better quarterback than Justin Fields.
Ooh, so what you saying here? Robert Saleh distanced himself from Zach Wilson?
No, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is like this was a Joe Douglas move. This was not a Robert Saleh move to bring in Zach Wilson, basically. Like,
and still with Zach Wilson as the backup this year, even though it was driven by Rodgers, ultimately the buck stopped with Douglas, right?
Yeah, and also they would have to pay him anyway. They figured, okay, we're gonna have to pay him, so we might as well just keep him on the roster. But my thing is, if you're going to keep 3 quarterbacks, why not try to sign another veteran just in case something were to happen to Aaron Rodgers? Because I mean, old players get hurt. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, that's just the fact of the business. I mean, we saw with Dwayne Brown, he ended up getting hurt. You're seeing with Aaron Rodgers there. I mean, he's near 40 years old. I mean, as good as he's been, you have to think at some point he's going to have some kind of injury. Maybe not Achilles injury, but some type of injury.
And relatively as durable as he's been, nobody knew this was going to be the injury that would put him out for the season. So, but I'm not sure Robert Saleh is at fault for what's happened because the defense continues to be respectable.
Correct.
But you ultimately make the bed, you're going to have to lay in it. Do you think that the owner is patient enough to give it one more season to let Aaron Rodgers come back?
I think so, depending on how the rest of the year goes. Yeah, I think, if they finish with 7 wins, then I think, oh, okay, you can say that you can sell to your fan base. Yeah, we'll get Aaron and we can pick up 3 or 4 more wins and, compete with the Dolphins and make the playoffs. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying that's what you're going to sell to the fan base. But if you go 4-13 or 5-12, I mean, it's kind of a tough sell, especially considering the circumstances. But also, if you fire Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas, you're essentially starting over, because you brought in Aaron Rodgers to play the coach under Nathaniel Hackett and everything like that. So, yeah, you eventually got to get – I think they need to draft the quarterback anyway. But I don't know if they will, because we saw what happened in Green Bay when Aaron Rodgers was really in his feelings, because they ended up drafting Jordan Love.
You really going to bring up Jordan Love? Just bring that up?
Look, I'm just telling you what – I'm not saying Jordan Love has been great. I'm just telling you what the situation was. Like, he wasn't happy about it. So what's to say that he's going to be happy about when the Jets pick 11th in the draft, and then they were to take a guy like a Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington or something like that? Would he be happy about that, or would he want them to take an offensive lineman instead? Which they could do either one, but they definitely got to take a quarterback at some point, because you don't know how much longer he's going to play. Like, he might play one more year. I think possibly.
Maybe they should draft Broderick Jones. Oh, wait a second. No, Pittsburgh beat him to it.
Well, yeah, the Patriots kind of screwed him on that, but I know. in Bill Belichick fashion.
I want to take a little trip down memory lane with you. Other than the obvious of getting to hang around Omar and I quite a bit, your favorite memory highlight of covering the Dolphins?
I have so many. Like, I'm trying to think of, wow, like probably, I've seen a lot of crazy stuff, like whether it be seeing Beasley almost get beat up in the locker room. Like it was a lot of wild stuff, like just crazy there.
Who almost beat Beasley up in the locker room? I missed that.
Yeah, you don't remember the Ravens situation where with Jarvis Landry after the game?
That was the Jarvis Landry situation.
Yeah.
I was standing right there. B. Jarvis wasn't about to do nothing. Nah. Well, I've had worse confrontations.
No, I know. Yeah. I know you have. I could have brought that up too, which was ridiculous. Yeah, we could have brought the Jordan Phillips situation into, which I thought was ridiculous, though. But I mean, the man plays when he wants to. Like, I think he's still in the league playing when he wants to. Like,
and making a lot of money doing it too.
Exactly. Like, I think just the camaraderie. I think it is probably the camaraderie. I think just getting to know y'all and being around y'all, and like what I miss too. Like, although you kind of get it with the Jets locker room, the Jets media room, but just us being, laughing and joking and stuff like that, especially in that room. Like, Omar would have some kind of crazy story or whatever, and then Perk would be right there, like just talking, saying his stuff too as well. And then we got Beasley there, Joe Shad too as well. So yeah, just kind of the stories and just the crazy stuff when we talk about it, just kind of bounce these stuff off each other. That's kind of what I do miss.
Yeah, what people don't realize is that we sit around and we bounce off our work that we're going to actually write. Like,
exactly.
It led to a big internal feud that led to stories when we were debating who is the Dolphins MVP. Is it Tua or is it Tyreek? What is your vote?
Yeah, go ahead, Antoine.
Well, I think you're going with the quarterback. I think you got to go with the quarterback, do it Tua. I mean, although you really going to take a wide receiver. I think Tyreek Hill is their best player, but I think Tua is their MVP. Because I think without Tua, they wouldn't be where they are right now in the standings. But Tyreek Hill is clearly their best player, if that makes sense.
No argument on that. Tyreek Hill is without a doubt their best player. And I thought that if he does get to 2,000 yards, it would be a similar accomplishment to when Adrian Peterson got to 2,000 yards. And it is worthy of consideration for MVP.
Absolutely.
However, just like Kamala Harris, Tyreek has already told you, I got to take.
Oh God, you're going with that again. Oh my God,
Tua is the MVP.
Antoine, can you please tell Omar it doesn't work like that? That just because Tyreek says no, I'm not a candidate, give it to Tua. That doesn't mean people aren't going to vote for him. Please help me out here.
No, people are going to vote for him because they feel like he's the best player, and he is. But again, like, it's a quarterback award typically, and I can't see them not, especially considering everything Tua has, dealt with in the last year or so. I think that he would get the sentimental vote there as well. So that's kind of why I think as well. But you got some other candidates out there too. I mean, not to say that CJ Stroud should win it, but man, like what he's doing as a rookie right now, like that is simply phenomenal.
That's just rookie of the year. That's rookie of the year.
I agree with you, but he could get top 5 votes in the MVP. The way if the Texans get to the playoffs, like he should be a top 5 candidate for MVP.
Fair,
because nobody expected that. Nobody thought this.
I went and watched him in joint practice, and I promise you, that's not the quarterback that's playing right now.
Yeah, he is. I knew he'd be good, but not this soon. Like I thought it might take a year or so. I thought they'd get more parts around him and things. Like I thought DeMeco Ryans would field a really good defense around him, but my God, like they one of the best teams in the AFC right now. I mean, you can't. They could win a division still. They could beat Jacksonville for the division.
Mm-hmm. Big game Sunday.
Now, obviously, the Dolphins have the best record in the AFC. Do you really think that they're this good?
Do I think they're the best team in the AFC, or do I think they're really good? That's two different questions.
Omar, KC has the best team in the AFC at 7.
No, AFC East, I meant. Yeah.
Oh, AFC. Oh, yeah. By far, I think they're the best team in the AFC East. Yeah, I think the Bills are. I think the Bills are going to make the playoffs now because I think with the change with Joe Brady there, if so long as Josh Allen can limit the turnovers, because Pittsburgh, I'm not really buying. I mean, their offense is not good at all.
It's Jets-like.
The only difference is they have better coaching. Their coaching is going to keep. They'll probably win 9 games. They'll probably win 9 games or so, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to get in. I think Buffalo can sneak into that spot too as well. But yeah, I think by far the Dolphins are the best team. Now in the AFC, that's a whole other story. I think the Ravens. I want to buy in the Ravens. I really do. I think the Ravens, to me, right now, if I had to pick, would be the best team in the AFC
over the Chiefs.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like I think the Chiefs, they have the elite quarterback in Mahomes, but outside of they're not really scaring me. The defense is good. The defense is much improved though. But they don't really have a lot of good weapons. Like obviously Kelsey.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, how do you see this Sunday's game? Friday's game, Black Friday. At least you don't have to travel, unlike a lot of people. Dolphins have to travel on Thanksgiving. But how do you see that game playing out?
I think it's going to be tight, at least initially. I mean, the Jets defense is good enough; it's going to keep them in every single game. But I think the problem is if they're not scoring points, kind of what you saw in the Buffalo game. The Dolphins are going to eventually. You got to put up 20 points, I think, to beat the Dolphins. I really do. And the Jets' inability to do that, I think, is going to backfire in this game. And I see Miami winning it by really 2 touchdowns. I kind of see like 27-13 or somewhere around there. But I think, like I said, I think Dolphins are just a superior team, like on all across the board. Defensively, the Jets have a better defense, but when you keep getting put out in that situations where you're going in 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, you're going to get tired. And then eventually we saw that against the Bills. Like, it was 9-0.
Covering that. Yeah.
I have too.
And then you start to see the defenders turn on the team and turn on and confront the coach, like bench the quarterback. And then you don't want to bench the quarterback, then I'm going to quit on them. And
that hasn't happened yet, but eventually it could. I mean, you're kind of seeing signs of it. I mean, they don't have any answers. We're asking the players after the game, like, how can you improve the offense? Like Tyler Conklin was like, I don't have an answer for you. I really don't. I don't know. Like Garrett Wilson, same thing. I really don't have an answer for you. So when players they don't have answers for you, that's not a good thing.
But Antoine, here's the thing. Could any quarterback succeed behind that offensive line? I mean, it is
right now, no. Right now, no. Not with Bettner. They literally have 4 backups playing on the offensive line. So yeah, you can't survive that way. Like it's just brutal. That's why I was like, it's no point of bringing Rodgers back, even if you were in it. I mean, you're gonna get that man killed. Like he's coming off an Achilles injury. So you can't put him back there behind a makeshift offensive line. That's not a successful model for success.
Well, we appreciate your time, Antoine. You also have a podcast. Tell the people where they can find your podcast on Believe Network.
A Black Page Breakdown. You can check it out. This week would be kind of weird with the Black Friday game. Usually Tuesdays and Thursdays, but we'll have a show on Saturday because the game after we'll kind of break down, what happened with the Jets Dolphins. So check me out there. Check me out at Antoine Staley on Twitter and I work at the New York Daily News.
And listen, you're a friend. You're a great beat writer. We appreciate you, and we always enjoy having you on. We'll probably see you back next time when we play. Hopefully, it won't be.
Well, I'll be in Miami. Yeah, I'll be in
Yeah.
Miami. So yeah, I mean, but you don't have to tell me I'm great. Like you're just saying that because I'm on here.
Turn it up. Oh, you know how many jobs I done recommended you for, Antoine? Come on. Home.
Well, yeah, I appreciate. I love both. I love you both. So yeah, I appreciate. Anytime y'all need me on, y'all know how to find me.
All right, Antoine. We appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Antoine.
Yeah, thank y'all.
Thank you for watching alldolphins.com. We will be back tomorrow with what are we gonna have tomorrow? Well, actually,
is that the actual only practice of the week for the Dolphins on Wednesday?
Absolutely. See you tomorrow.